Then I read in the Bible, it says stuff like, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. How does that gel? That must not be right. Could I have some tea, please? You see, and I developed this theory thinking about all this stuff, that looking back to myself as a 17-year-old kid when I got engaged, and 19 when I got married, which was still 2 years before I accepted Christ into my life, all I knew was me, me, me. And I believe that dating couples, for the most part, are drawn to each other by their unmet needs, not by what we call love. I had a really deep need to be needed, to be approved of, to get affirmed. And my wife had a really great need to be loved and to believe somebody could love her. And when I said, I love you, she thought, I'll do anything for this kid. So what happens when you're drawn together by your need, and you put the siphon hose down in their heart to meet your own need, you suck them dry in about 2 years, if it takes that long. How about it, pastors in the house? How many couples have sat before us in premarital counseling 6 months before the wedding, stars in their eyes, and they're not even paying attention to what we're telling them, and they're saying, that doesn't apply to us. We're in love. But then the same couples back in your office 2 years after they're married can't stand to even look at each other, saying, I don't think I ever really did love you. And I'm saying, I don't think you did either. You're just using them for 2 years to meet your own needs. And so God began to show me that those patterns of behavior were definitely not Christ-like. And it's not really about me at all. It's about me knowing Him, me being filled by Him, and me being able to share out of the overflow to bless others. And that pattern has to be undone over and over and over through the Christian life, because it's like learning a second language. I keep falling back to my mother tongue, which comes more natural to me, and that is the world revolves around Scott. Got to deal with these patterns. They're in all of your wagons. Some of us have developed patterns that we don't like pain and we like pleasure better. And so when we're in pain, we try to kill the pain, and we do it with drugs and alcohol and sex and pornography and religion and food and shopping and all kinds of other things. When we get stressed, we run to lesser things. Which leads me to the second biggie in my bag. And this one's only about 2 months old. The Lord's taught me this. Never enough. Never enough. I'm going to explain that to you. The Scriptures teach us, I think we have this one, in Romans 14:12, that one day, shortly after this arrow nabs me, that I will give an account for my own life before God. Tom did a great job on the Bema seat. But each of us are going to give an account to the Lord, and notice this, it's a personal account. So here I am standing before the Lord, and I'm going to say, well, Lord, I know those first years are really bumpy, but you know, I don't think my parents ever really read the manual on how to potty train me. And I kind of think somebody might have dropped me on my head back there somewhere. Or, you know, my dad really wasn't that involved with me, and it made me grow up as a man and always trying to gain his approval somewhere. And then I married a girl that kind of, you know, she sold me a bill of goods. She advertised herself like she was going to be everything I'd ever need. And I advertised myself to her like I was everything she would ever need. And we found out in about 6 months that was a lie. That was storefront. And you know what we learn over there? We learn because we are trying to get everybody else to meet our needs, that when our needs aren't met, it's somebody else's problem. So we've developed this thing God gave me on a run one day. Do we have the little circle with the man in it? This, there it is. It's great artist work here. But it gets the point across. In the light of the fact that I will give a personal account to God for myself, that circle around the stick man originally represented, I was a stick guy, and that circle represents my responsibility before God. Now, the Bible says when the Spirit of God controls us, we are characterized by something known as the fruit of the Spirit. Fruit of the Spirit is things like love and joy and peace. And when I'm not filled with love, joy, and peace, my natural tendency is to say, like Adam, it's that woman you gave me, Lord. Or it's my job, it's the economy, it's where I live. If I just had a bigger house, then I'd really be happy. If my pool was a little bigger, or, you know, if you could trade the 50 in for 225s, guys think like that sometimes. Then I'd be happy. But man, how many celebrities do we have to read about in the paper that seem like they have everything and then mess up to know that it's never enough? Because we're trying to fill an eternal void with temporal things, it's never enough. You can never get enough of what you don't need. And what God's taught me in the last couple of weeks is this. Man, after I messed up, and that's why I'm here, I've violated my own belief system to the point that I no longer could be the pastor. And after that crushing and breaking and being willing to look and scrape away the layers and dig through the trash, trying to find out really what was at the core, God began to show me that I had expectations on my parents, on my only one, on my home where I lived. I used to sit in my little pool, and I'd sit there and I'd think, would I be happier if this pool was like Olympic size? And the Lord said, no, because everywhere you go, there you're going to be. And if you're not happy where you are, you're not going to be happy there either. And God began to show me inside that circle that I can't blame anything outside of that circle if I'm not full of love, joy, and peace. That's my problem. I got a problem. And I need to learn to live inside of that circle in such a way that all those outside forces, my only responsibility to them is to respond to them in a way that would honor Christ and not steal from me the joy of the Lord. Had to learn that none of those things will ever be enough. And you know what happened instantly like 2 months ago? When I stopped analyzing the way my mom and dad raised me, and I took off of them that responsibility, and I said, you know what? All you were was God's calling card to say, come to me. Every need they weren't able to meet, it was God saying, come to me. I'm the only one that has what you need. And every time you would say those words, my wife is not meeting my needs, that is God's calling card saying she was never supposed to. I'm the only one that can meet those deep core needs of your life. Come to me. When you go to work and you're miserable in your job, it's God's calling card saying this job is never really supposed to be your ultimate fulfillment. Come to me. Come to me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden. I'll give you rest for your souls. Doesn't rest for your soul sound good? We've complicated the Christian life. We've pretended our way right away from the power of the Christian life. The power of the Christian life is this: I'm not like Jesus yet. I'm a work in progress. The church is to be the ultimate support group. We're just a whole bunch of people that enrolled in kindergarten together. And now we're trying to find our way through this journey of being like Christ so we can be used more by Christ to impact the world around us. And so we get in life groups. We go to Monday Night Men. and we share life together, and we share what we're struggling with, and we share remnants of the old life so that we can be more what Christ claimed us to become.